Well, my last Versus video was pretty well received, and given that, I thought I'd dig into the comments to see what you guys came up with for the next video. Well, okay then. Let's do that. So, the parameters are pretty simple. Dr. Bright and Dr. Clef are both in a grocery store. If we're going to make it competitive, there needs to be some real-world reason for them to compete, so we'll say they're both trying to get a hold of the last Nintendo Wii in the store. The timing of that release in mid-November 2006 sets our timeline near Thanksgiving, near Black Friday, which, yeah, I could see a competition arising from that. So we'll say Dr. Bright is in a new body, and of course he's still got to get used to it. Going to have issues with like balance and hand-eye coordination, even if they pick a person with a body very similar to the last one he used. Maybe he wants the Wii so he can practice his hand-eye coordination. And to even things out, we'll say Clef is finally up and walking after recovering from his broken neck at the hands of Kondraki in report 239-B-192. So we'll say he's there too to get a Wii for the physical therapy benefits. Alright, fine. That's the parameters. Dr. Bright, Dr. Clef, trying to get a Wii. It's Black Friday. Let's get started. Marcus Matthews was an innocent man. Or, I guess at least he was until this month started. I'm sure he'd been convicted of murder and sentenced to death, but the system had gotten it wrong. So when a shadowy government agent came and offered him his freedom for a month of service, he thought it was his salvation. But then they put the necklace on him and, well, then he was no longer innocent. Because he was no longer him. They told him he wouldn't remember anything, but he was fully conscious the entire time, looking through eyes that no longer seemed his and feeling everything but controlling nothing. He'd watched in morbid fascination yesterday when this Dr. Bright in control of his body had gone to a family Thanksgiving dinner with other Brights. He'd sat through the awkward meal and the awkward glances and the stares and wished he could retreat even further into his own mind, but it had mercifully ended. And Dr. Bright had gotten up early this morning. His physical therapist had been suggesting that he try out video games to improve the recovery of his hand-eye coordination, so here he was in a Target parking lot on a Black Friday, hoping to buy a Nintendo Wii, which is a really dumb name for a game system. Dr. Bright took a place in the back of the line, which by the time they actually opened the doors was somewhere in the middle. A mass of people surged forward, almost knocking over the man who had let them in, and Dr. Bright, along with half the people in the store, made a beeline for the electronics department. He dodged a few shoppers unsteadily, and stumbled more than a few times, but he got there, and he laid his hands on the goal. And then another pair of hands landed on the same box. Dr. Bright looked up, and Marcus recognized the face. This was Dr. Clef. What was Clef doing here? Dr. Bright didn't say anything at first. Instead, he pulled out a silenced Beretta M9A3 out of his shoulder holster. Clef saw this and pulled an identical gun, and both pointed it covertly over the box at the other. "This one's mine, Clef. Get your own," Bright said, through clenched teeth. "Fuck off," Clef mumbled, looking around at the shoppers. "There aren't any more, and I saw this one first. And I grabbed it first." Bright slid his gun a little closer. "So back off." "Fine." Clef made a big show of letting the box go and turned around while putting the gun back in its holster. Bright smiled and started to do the same, but Marcus saw the body language and knew what was coming. But he couldn't do anything about it, and Bright was surprised when Clef spun around and hit him in the side of the head with a haymaker. Bright was knocked backwards onto the ground, his gun still out. Clef grabbed the box and ran. Bright raised his pistol, carefully lined up a shot, and missed by a mile, the bullet pinging off the metal roof. The suppressed weapons fire still drew some attention, and several people screamed, and Bright stood up and fired several more shots, all wildly inaccurate. Clef ducked behind a counter with the box and peeked out over the top with his own gun out. "Don't be stupid, Bright. You can aim for shit even before you got stuck in a necklace." "Screw you, you quadriplegic piece of shit. That doesn't even make any sense. I'm obviously walking now." "Your face doesn't make any sense." That was when the gun battle started. For Marcus, this wasn't actually as awkward as the Bright Thanksgiving dinner, but it was close. Later, Dr. Clef and Dr. Bright both sat in chairs opposite a man with a large handlebar mustache. He was reading a collection of documents on the desk between them. Above them was a bright fluorescent light with a slight hum. It says here, you got into a shooting match over a Nintendo Wii. Dr. Clef raised his hand halfway up. Actually, I think that's a typo. It should be shouting match. The man with the mustache squinted. Right. It says you exchanged several shots before the police intervened and you fled the scene. Bright spoke up this time. Oh, again, it's shouts, not shots. That's a weirdly consistent typo. Now you two know that the whole thing was captured on video by the store's security cameras, right? InfoSec captured and scrubbed it from public record, but I'm going to be looking at it to determine exactly what happened, so is there anything else you two want to tell me? The two doctors looked at each other and shook their head, but Clef stopped and raised his hand halfway again. Some bitch with a mohawk ran over while we were, shouting at each other and stole the Wii. I think that was the real crime here. The man with the mustache grunted and waved his hand towards the door dismissively. Both men got up and left the room. Just outside, Clef grabbed Bright by the shoulder. You know the discipline officer only has a level 3 security clearance, right? Bright considered this for a moment and nodded. Race you to the records room? Clef's eyes widened. Yeah, on 3. 1, and Clef took off down the hallway. Bright cursed and tried to catch up. So it looks like we can call that one a draw. What do you think? Did I get it right? And what do you want to see next? Leave a comment down below, and if you want to help support the channel, join these fine folk over at patreon.com/DCimmerian. Links will be at the end of this video and in the description below. Thanks for watching.